if you're a human being, you are bound to be sad. You know, it's natural.
We've had the stigma of not being able to talk to our parents. I bet you they didn't with their parents, and we're the generation that are kind of realising what it is and that actually it does need to be spoken about.
How's it going, guys? I'm Alisha.
And I'm Shelina, and we are student ambassadors here at the University of Winchester. Welcome to the Inside Out.
This episode is called The Pandemic. We are enduring a pandemic, a mental health pandemic. Rates of depression and anxiety in young people have skyrocketed in recent years, and universities are seemingly under more and more pressure to ensure they support students who are experiencing mental health traumas.
We spoke with a small group of students here at the University of Winchester to understand how Black, Asian, minority ethnic, LGBTQ+, and disabled communities suffer from mental health conditions, the stigma attached, and how the university is offering to help those from all backgrounds.
Amazing. So I'll reveal our topic because I know you guys are probably keen to know. So big reveal. We're going to be talking about mental health today. I find like being part of the BAME community, there's perhaps a stigma around mental health and perhaps talking about mental health at home compared to non-BAME community. I don't know if you think that's the same. What would you guys say?
Yeah, I'd say so too. It's a recent issue, even though it's been an issue way back in time, but it's recently been growing, and especially for the BAME community. I agree with that.
Yeah, Oshi, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately mental health is not taken seriously at homes.
What's your hometown?
That would be Kerala, towards the south of India, and unfortunately they think it's a weakness to have mental health and it's not addressed properly. Like if you tell your friend, oh, you have, like depression, oh, it's not like seen as a good thing, it's like a taboo thing. I think it needs to be addressed.
So do you think that because of that it then becomes difficult to want to talk to your family and you feel like you have to bottle up a lot of things because they don't understand it, or if they do, they just don't think anything of it?
Exactly, yeah. So basically I've tried and they think that it's something to be solved or something, because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you could have a conversation, feel better, but sometimes it's just that something like a cycle that happens sometimes and then you're fine after some time.
Okay, so it's like they think it's just a phase and that you'll snap out of it after a while.
Yeah.
I think having family members that understand or take your mental health seriously is kind of like a privilege, because it's either non-existent or it's just completely trivialized. Like it's just like mental health is very real in our family. You can see like how long and hard it was to process for my parents, especially my dad, being a man and Asian. Men don't really, they're not allowed to express their feelings and say that they're struggling, say that they're feeling, I guess, weak. There's just so much pressure for them to be the provider of the family. So,
do you think like your family's like worked on it? But if you're happy to say,
in the sense that they accepted that it's a thing. It's just,
and that takes time. It's the recognition of it first. The biggest, most vital step is actually recognizing, you know what, it is a thing, and I need help, and now I need to do something about it, kind of thing. So I'm sure that would have been a huge stepping stone.
Why do you think it's so hard to, like, for the BAME community we talk about, perhaps it couldn't apply to the LGBTQ+ community or disabled, why do you think it's so hard to, like, accept it?
I feel like we're just really selfish creatures, and we always think about our perspective. Like, what you're saying is a bit weird to me, so I'm not gonna deal with it.
It's funny you say that, because you can also flip it on the reverse and think, actually, you know what, I don't want to talk to my friends about this because I don't want to burden them. with this kind of stuff. Like, it's my issue, my own personal issue, and I feel like I have to deal with it on my own.
Yeah. And what a relief when you just let it all out. Oh my God.
Yeah, when you like vent to your friends about your issues, just releasing all that can make you feel so much better. So yes, we are selfish creatures, but at the same time, we're also very aware of the fact that we don't want to disrupt other people or provide concerns for other people, and just continue with life like everything's okay.
Does anyone else have like if you wanted to share any personal, or if you know any like stories or friends or anyone that perhaps have that stigma around mental health or have grown up around that?
I know a friend of mine, and he has a mental disorder. And when he, of course, first said it, people didn't take it because it's a he as well, as you mentioned. Everyone's like, what are you talking about? You're a guy, man up. And
Man up. That is, that's something that's got to go.
Yeah. And he felt really upset because, you know, he thought he could open up with his friends and his friends didn't. And he had a big struggle over that. Like, there are times when he says he wants to kill himself, and people are like, why do you want to? You're fine, you have friends, you have family, why do you want to? Like, people are not understanding. So I think there's like a big gap where there's no awareness of what it is. The gap is there, which has to be filled, I feel.
Yeah. I think it has a lot to do with tradition as well, especially for where I'm from in Indonesia. Growing up there wasn't much, if not any, talks or lessons about mental health. We had this session called counseling, but it's mostly about your future in university and all that. So no one really talks about how you're feeling today and all that. It's kind of scary actually.
I mean, there's some things about culture that are like amazing, and we're proud of what culture we come from, but I also think there's some things that do need to change as well eventually in time, like how you say about how it was hard in your house, Naz, for people to accept like that mental health was a thing. Like, I think that's something that needs to be changed.
I mean, you know, I think it kind of comes from like immigrant parents who had to like kind of pull themselves up from their bootstraps, right? And they don't have time to think about what's going on in their heads. They had to provide for the family, food, water, money, all of that, and they had to grind and grind. And so it's just so different.
In my community, and I don't know if it's the same in yours, like talking about the future and your jobs is a very big thing in families, and they want to dictate like what you want to do in the future, and like you should do this because it has a lot of money. And probably children are struggling now to sort of fight back and be like, I actually don't want to be a doctor or something like that. I don't know.
That conversation doesn't exist.
That's the thing. That's the thing too. That's the thing too, as you said, when they push their children because it's good pay, like the money comes first over their state of mind, their happiness. Some of my friends actually, they don't want to speak up about it because, well, it's either I don't want to say disowned, but it's most like being shunned. You know, it's like, oh no, how dare you speak up to me? I gave birth to you. Yeah. Why aren't you listening to me? It's like you gave birth to a wonderful human being, but why aren't you giving it its free will, his or her free will?
I think it's a big thing in the Asian community. It's like you like respect, but it's kind of like you have to earn it. Yeah. It actually works on what Naz was saying with like immigrant parents, because they feel like they've worked so hard, so why would you not listen to them or like do what they say, because they're like, oh, we work so hard, you have it so easy. But I think it's a generational thing. I'm sure their parents also worked for where they wanted and they work for us. It doesn't mean we're not as appreciative, it just means that we also now need to go on to the next step and be like, we can't just be stuck in a rut of like, this is the only thing we're allowed to do or should be doing.
Yeah, so I'm not a member of the BAME community, and certainly from my background, my family were always very open about having the conversation. My parents both worked in mental health and they both suffered with mental health. That's kind of why they went into it. And it was interesting from my grandparents' perspective, the different, like, they're older, so they maybe don't appreciate, like we've all said, like struggles nowadays.
perhaps they haven't. Because I would say like we've had the stigma of not being able to talk to our parents. I bet you they didn't with their parents, and it's probably just like passed down. And we're the generation that are kind of realizing what it is, and that actually it does need to be spoken about. And like going off of social media, I think that's so big right now, and especially for our age group and our generation, and it can really affect mental health. I think sometimes good, sometimes bad, but I feel like. If we're looking at advertising and or things like that, I feel like I don't see very many people that look like me when it comes to mental health advertising, or perhaps if it was someone in the disabled community or LGBT, like this very like generic advertising.
I agree, like, you know, I rarely see anyone that doesn't look like me. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people wouldn't notice it. Unless it directly affects them, they're not going to notice it. And I think it's interesting, certainly coming from a white person's point of view, how touchy people get when it's made, like when someone makes a point about it. Yeah. I certainly saw it when I was in high school growing up, that people do kick off about it because it's something to kick off about. Because it's like, hold on, well, now you're discriminating against me. And it's like, well, you're not though, are you? Yeah. You know, you're raising awareness of something that's not being done, that should be being done anyway.
Don't you think people getting touchy about it is quite telling anyway?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Actually, am I part of the issue? Like, am I part of the reason as to why people have concerns in the first place?
Yeah.
Bullying definitely affects mental health, regardless of your skin colour. Everybody gets bullied in some form, in some manner. So I think that's really good, like cool that you brought that up, because I know for me especially, and I'm sure I can speak for others, like high school was definitely that key ages where people really do get affected, and also a lot of people at that age understand it and can be educated about it. It's like, it's that thing of like, am I going to do something about it? So
yeah, teenagers are
nasty.
I feel like
you were like triggered by the high school ages.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like I was living in bliss until year 7. It was so bad. I started to wear the headscarf as well. And I was like so happy, like this is my first day at school, like secondary school, I'm wearing my scarf, and like boom, I get called the T word, like by some, I'm pretty sure he was in year 11. I just remember like my heart, I could feel it just like dim. That was what really triggered me to like become more introverted and like just to be more generally quiet. Like that's it, like these people don't like me.
Do you think it should be taught in schools, like specifically sort of fixed lessons, like set lessons for like mental health education in schools, like from that young age, so you knew like back then you could have said something?
Yeah, like it doesn't seem like anyone else even took notice of it. No one did anything, no one said anything, and it just felt like I should push it, shove it under the rug. I should just go on.
Yeah, it just shows how like even that one comment, that one day, first day of school or whatever, has literally affected like your whole school life. And then
I should have gone up to his face, like
with
my little
so?
year 11 like self.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You think that as you grow older, and you're like, damn, I should have said that when I was younger, which kind of leads into the thing of like, we want it to be implemented in schools and like in an education perspective, and we're pushing and striving for that. So this podcast that we're talking about is obviously from a student experience perspective, and obviously all of us are students of Winchester. So we just wanted to have your thoughts of us as uni students, what the uni can do.
On my open day, I came and I was really like, because I was in counselling at the time, and I was really happy with the fact that I spoke to someone and they gave me all this stuff on it. Mm-hmm. Since my open day, I haven't seen a huge amount about mental health. I'm sure it's been out there, but I think it's hard being from home, accessing it. You get so many emails a day. I don't even acknowledge them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How do you think you'd like to receive it more?
I don't even know. I think maybe come from the students, because I know we've got the student ambassadors, and so I think that is such a good way to kind of get in with the students, rather than having a lecturer say, you can come and speak to me, which is great, but having someone on your level that understands to say, this is open to whoever wants it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have more of this, right? Like,
Yeah.
something to stem that conversation, to spark
Yeah.
it up, because like I completely agree with you. It can be very difficult to try converse your concerns to someone that actually has no idea, like, one, how to respond, but two, just doesn't get you.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so much easier. It's like when you have a piece of work that can be really difficult to complete, you rather go to one of your friends about it because you
Yeah.
know that they'll be able to help you more or get
Yeah.
you more than your teacher. Sometimes it's just a comfort thing, right?
Like for me personally, if I wanted to talk about my mental health to perhaps someone here at uni, like I feel coming from a BAME background, sometimes my problems are different to non-BAME people, and it's kind of difficult to open up to non-BAME people because you feel like they don't understand, and sometimes they don't, and that's not their fault, it's just because they don't. So it's like I would like to talk to someone who I perhaps wouldn't have to explain that this small thing that doesn't seem like a big problem in another culture or community is actually affecting me a lot.
Yeah, I actually agree with that because I have a lot of international friends from Norway, so when I talk to them, even if I'm talking about a basic topic, I have to first explain why I'm talking about before I address what I'm
actual
talking.
issue.
Yeah, and by the time I'm tired, I'm like, I just feel I did an essay.
I think we also have to have patience for other non-BAME people, and even people who don't, like for our parents who don't understand, who might not understand mental health too well, like you both need to kind of
communicate.
Yeah.
You have to understand that they're still learning, but they also need to be the ones to be like, I want to learn, because if they don't want to, then it's like one-sided.
Like, you know, try to find a digestible way to explain it.
Yeah.
Like, don't just be like, oh, you don't understand me,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah,
Door
it
slammed.
takes recognition from both parts. It's like recognizing that you have mental health concerns and people recognizing that there are mental health concerns. And then it's from those points that you can then move forward. But
Any more points? I think that was a good wrap up.
I think that was a good wrap up.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing.
It's all right. Yeah, well done, guys.
Thanks, guys. That was great.